And welcome back to part 2 of tonight's stream. Right, what have we got here since my absence? We've got Lindsay H with the £2 super sticker, thank you so much for that. Elspeth Hughes, hopefully I've pronounced that correctly, with the £2. And we've also got a Silver Fox with the £9.99.
Oh my God!
Thank you so much for that, Silver Fox. That is incredibly kind of you. Right, so as I've said, we're going to be taking a look at what happens post-indictment concerning Lucy Letby's defence, as in her evidence in chief, where she was asked questions by her own barrister, Benjamin Myers, KC. And then we'll take a look at what Lucy said during her cross-examination, again based on this same period, post-indictment. So after Lucy Letby was removed from clerical duties. Right, okay. Thank you so much, Lindsay H, Elspeth Hughes and Silver Fox. Right, who have we still got here? Lucy Blue, beautifully fractured, has entered the live stream. Welcome to you. Scarezilla, thanks for joining us. Yeah, so as I say, what have we got here? 37 pages to get through, and then the cross-examination video is about 45 minutes long. So I'd imagine probably a good sort of hour, maybe hour and a half for this second part. And let's just make sure I haven't forgotten anybody before we start. No, that's about it, by the looks of it. I'm glad Lenny's still here for the time being. Bexminster, welcome to you. Thanks for joining us. Oh yeah, and don't forget to hit the like button, that I always forget to say. If you could hit the like button, that'd be greatly appreciated. Right, okay. So I think people will find this particularly interesting. As I say, it's not discussing so much the cases, it's what happens after Lucy Letby is removed from clerical duty. So let's just full screen this a second. And again, it's Benjamin Myers asking questions to Lucy Letby. So, Mr. Myers, I'm going to move on to the period that follows this and just remind us just where we are with the shift pattern as it ends. Let's just look at this to have the dates in mind. Can we look at the shift pattern at page 33229? We've got the months of June and July here. In June, for the 23rd, and the 24th and the 25th, that deals with the events that we've been looking at today, doesn't it? She replies, yes. The 28th, 29th and 30th, is that you working in the unit? She replies, yes. And we can see it here, but again, did you work in that unit again after the 30th of June? Lucy replies, no. We pick it up on the 1st of July. Can you just tell us what was happening over the week or so in your life, the week or so following the 30th of June? She replies, I was on a family holiday. Is that the time off followed by the annual leave? Lucy replies, yes. Do you recall when it was that you found out that you wouldn't be going back on the unit, at least at this point? Do you recall when that was? She replies, yes, it was the day before I was due to go back to work. Right, and looking at this, sorry, says Lucy, it's a little bit small, I appreciate. I see you squinting to see it there. Is it the last day of your annual leave? Do you remember which day you were due to go back to work? She replies, no, I don't recall without looking. But would it be shortly after your return from annual leave? Lucy replies, yes. So shortly after that is when you found out you wouldn't be going back, at least for the time being. Lucy replies, I found out the day before I was due to return to work, that there was going to be a meeting with Arian Powell, yes. Alright, well, we'll put this to one side. We've seen the patterns there and the dates, and just work through some of the material that applies after this. Do you remember, we've been given by the prosecution something called a post-indictment schedule of messages. We looked at it at the end of the case. It was produced and introduced by the prosecution, and we may see maybe more of that in due course. At this stage, I just want to look at some of it at this point. Can we go to tile 18 first of all, please? What I'll do, where this is a sequence, unless it's necessary to stop, just to make it run a little bit more smoothly, we'll go through the relevant tiles and we can all see who sent what to who, unless it's necessary for me to point out exactly who sent what to who, and I can ask you whatever questions I need to coming out of them. We're going to look at tiles 18 to 20 first of all. We've got, we can see Dr. A to you. Did you manage some sleep? I should say this is the 27th of June, just to get this in context. So this is a couple of days after the day with child Q. Did you manage some sleep? Back on the NNU, just about to do J, drugs and Badger. Initial of child R is very well. They want to send child Q back as medical NEC. Not sure if the unit is open for transfers. Few managers, medical director around this morning. Where it says they want to send child Q back, do you know who they is that he is referring to? She replies, Alderhay Hospital. They want to send him back? Yes. And medical NEC. Can we go to tile 19? You reply, yes, got some sleep. Did you? Good news about both. Hope they don't rush child Q back. Why were you hoping they didn't rush child Q back? That's child Q. She replies, we'd experienced over the months that quite a few babies would go to Alderhay and be brought back very quickly. Mr. Myers, have we dealt with any of them in the course? Yes. Well, in this trial, who's that? She replies, child H and child G. Was that Alderhay in their case? Are you thinking of other tertiary units when you say that? She replies, no, that was the case for Alderhay and other tertiary units. Right. So you're talking about Alderhay and other tertiary units. She replies, yes. We know that both child G and child H did move between the Countess of Chester Hospital and tertiary units. Lucy replies, yes. Tile 20, please. Dr. A says, got about 3 hours. Coffee is good. It was odd. He's only been there for 14 hours. I think this is a sign of how AH is going to be. I think this is a sign of how AH is going to be. And then he said, they are so short of beds that they can only accommodate emergency patients. It's not good holistic care, and it's rubbish for his parents. When he said they are so short of beds, who is he referring to? They. Lucy replies, he's referring to Alderhay. So what is the reason as to why it is that child Q came back as quickly as he did, from what you understood here? She replies that at the time they were short of beds, and they were only looking after patients on an emergency basis, which child Q no longer was. Thank you. So they needed to send him back. Mr. Myers. We'll go next, please, to tile 24. This is the next day, the 27th of June, and it's a message from you to nurse E. If we look at 24 through to 29, at 12:52 in the afternoon, you say, I reckon there's going to be big meetings, etc., about what's gone on with unit being closed, lack of staff, etc. If we just pause there, what are you talking about when you sent that message to nurse E? Lucy replies, so at that point, the unit had been busy for a long time with poor staffing, and the unit was also closed because we were full at that time. Mr. Myers, does that happen sometimes, or did that happen sometimes? She replies that we'd have to close the unit. Mr. Myers, yes. Lucy replies, yes. And then Mr. Goss, the judge, sorry, when you say close the unit, she replies, it means that we are full. We can no longer take any admissions. Mr. Goss, exactly. You're not closing the unit as such. You are still operating the unit. It's closed to admissions, but there's no room for any new admissions. Lucy replies, that's right. Mr. Myers, so closed to new admissions. Lucy replies, yes, and we would look then at transferring babies out to make room. Mr. Myers, because there's the maternity, child and maternity department at the Countess of Chester Hospital. Lucy replies, yes. And what is the arrangement meant to be to ensure that babies with difficulties at the time of birth can be cared for properly? What should the arrangement be? Lucy replies, we need to make sure that we have relevant space and staffing on the unit to take any baby that might come through. Mr. Myers, all right, thank you. We'll move to tile 25, please, from nurse E. Yeah, Arian came in this morning, got no hello and haven't seen her in ages. 26, again from Nurse E, was asking why girls were saying unit short and staffing fine. What do you mean, asking why girls were saying unit short and staffing fine? Do you know what that means? Lucy replies, excuse me, I think she was questioning why people were saying that the unit was short-staffed. To her, the staffing was fine. That's Arian. Arian, yes. Line 27, tile 27. Caroline B said that although can hope today, got an MRI and something else going on, etc. Then 28 from Nurse E to you. Don't think she realises how horrific it gets, as rarely when she's in. Very flippant and flits through. What does she mean, how horrific it gets? What did you understand that to be a reference to, how horrific it gets? Lucy replies, how horrific the daily tasks are that we do on the clinical job, that we do on the clinical job. Tile 29, please, from you back to Nurse E. Right, 2 seconds, guys. Let's have a little break there for a second. Have a sip of the old green tea. Right, okay. So, tile 29, please, from you back to Nurse E. Bloody stupid with all that's happened. We're way over capacity, and it's skill mixed too. What's that a reference to? Lucy replies, that's referring to the babies that we had on that unit and who was able to care for them at that time. Was that adequate? Lucy replies, no. Was it unusual over this period for it to be inadequate? She replies, it was an ongoing issue. If we go to tile 58 next, please, there's a message from you to Dr. A at 17:41 on the 27th of June, saying Arian has just phoned telling me not to come in tonight and to do days instead. I asked if there was a problem and she said no, just trying to protect me a bit, and we can have a chat about it tomorrow, but now I'm worried. What were you worried about? She replies, that Arian had phoned me last minute like that, asking me to change my shift. And why would that be a worry? Lucy replies, because it would be unusual to do that, to cancel a shift when I was about to go in that night. Were you aware of any particular problem? Lucy replies, no. Can we go to paragraph 59? Sorry, tile 59, please. You add, E just phoned, this is to Nurse E now, sorry, telling me to do days this week and not go in tonight as trying to protect me. Is that something she had said, Arian, that she'd been trying to protect you? She replies, yes, and I didn't know what it was that she was trying to protect me from. So did you understand what was going on potentially elsewhere at this point? She replies, no, I didn't. I'm just trying to think about this. She did know, though, didn't she? She knew exactly what Arian was trying to protect her from because she'd had all the grievance stuff, hadn't she, by this time? Before she was removed? Or was that afterwards? I might be wrong about that. Right, let's continue. So did you understand what was going on potentially elsewhere at this point? She replies, no, I didn't. At tile 60, Nurse E says, what's that mean? Question mark. And at tile 61, you respond, I don't know. I asked if there was a problem and she said no, just trying to protect me as had a difficult run just before the holidays, less people on nights, etc. And we can have a chat, etc. tomorrow. Tile 62, please. But I'm worried I'm in trouble or something. And was there anything, first of all, that was worrying you, that you could be in trouble for? She replies, no. Why were you worried then? Some people might ask. Why would you worry? She replies, I was worried because Arian was making a change to my shifts. I'd asked her if there was a problem. She said no, but it seemed unusual, an unusual thing to do. Let's just look at the next few tiles. Tile 63, please, from Nurse E to you. Don't worry, how can you be in trouble? You haven't done anything wrong. Followed at tile 64, just very unfortunate. And tile 65, perhaps you could read this to save my voice for a moment. What do you reply? Lucy says, I know, but worrying in case they think I've missed something or whatever. Why leave it till now to ring? Does that help you with the question of what was worrying you? She replies, yes, I think I was worried that potentially I'd missed something, that there was an issue of some sort. How much did you want to get things right when you were at work? She replies, that is the aim. That is what you go to work to do your best. How much did being good at what you did matter to you? She replies, it was everything. It was my life, my job. Can we go to tile 107, please, moving forwards to later that night? This is at 23:29. Well, you can see it says SMS outgoing. No name is recorded, so it's something on your phone recovered from your phone. It's got def datix ×2. Datix no bicarb delay in IO access. Delay in IO access. What does IO stand for there? She replies, intraosseous. Sign out FFP on Meditech and pink chart. She replies, that's fresh frozen plasma, a blood product. Perhaps if you read and explain what this means, and then I'm going to ask you what this was doing on your phone. She replies, this is a list of things that I still needed to do when I went back to work. Alright, let's just finish it off if we could. So can you read it through, please, Miss Letby? She replies, I've got J charts, OBS, fluids in sluice, signed drugs, signed Curasurf out, traffic light drug compatibility, inotropes and no policy for PANC, delay in people doing drugs. So can you explain in a little bit more detail, what were you, then it says overspeaking. She replies, this is referring to the days with child O and child P, and things that were still outstanding that I needed to do. Right, did you do all those things? She replies, I can't recall from memory now, no. Is this a message you sent anywhere or not? She replies, no. Whose benefit was it for? She replies, it was myself, it was a list for myself. Okay, can we go to the next, please, to tile 131. We've moved to the 5th of July. So this is now the period after you've been having annual leave, or at about that time, is that correct? She replies, yes. And we saw that in that chart a moment ago, 14:15, nurse E to U. I only found out yesterday about the business with J's UVC. Do you know who J is referring to at that point? Do you know who J is referring to at that point? She replies, yes. Who is that? Is it? She replies, a baby that's not on the indictment. Mr. Myers, your reply at tile 132, please. Perhaps if you read your reply for the time being. Lucy says, really? I thought they were going to take it straight out. Did he still have it in? I thought they were going to take it straight out. Did he still have it in? And then Mr. Myers, Nursey at tile 135 replies, yes. At tile 136, Dr. A came in chatting to me at the start of last night's shift, and I said A needs LL soon as UVC been in nearly 2 weeks. And he said something about J's already being changed, and I said it hadn't. And he told me about the open port. And then this at tile 137, please. Geez, well, that was on the Thursday. Dr. A didn't have time to look for access in the evening, so I said to label it and not to use port overnight, and they would sort it out the next day. Abby knew. Mr. Myers. At tile 136, Nurse E replies to you. I handed over to Abby this morning, and she said she knew nothing about it being changed, and why would it be? 137, Lucy Letby. Bloody hell, thank goodness I did a datix. 138, did you? Good. At 139, Nurse E to you. Well, when that gets looked into, they'll see it never got changed. And then 140, please. I told her about it that night. Yes, because thought it's a massive infection risk and risk of air embolism. Don't know how long it had been like that. Mr. Myers, can we look at the next tile? Come back to that in a moment. Nurse E to you. He has been persistently tachycardic now and tachyphonic? Phonic, I think. Feed slow to increase as having few vomits, larger asps, so asked to review last night. Then tile 142. Jess and Tony not bothered as CRP lower than 1 on weekly bloods. You're talking about a baby in that sequence that you say isn't a baby on this indictment. Is that correct? She replies, that's right. That's the first thing. Can we go back to tile 140, please, where you send this message to Nurse E? I told her about it that night. Yes, because thought it's a massive infection risk and risk of air embolism. Don't know how long it had been like that. What was it that you were talking about there and identifying? Lucy replies, so this baby had a UVC in situ, and one of the ports on it was open. It did not have a bung on it, which means it was open to the air, which is against normal practice. And is that a matter of, when you say practice, is that a matter of standard practice? She replies, no, there should be a bung on at all times. There should be a bung on it at all times. And how familiar are nurses with the risk of air embolism if there isn't a bung on something like that? She replies, it's something that nurses would be well aware of. And how would they get that information? How would they know? She replies, it's part of your training when you learn how to access lines and give fluids and drugs. Mr. Myers, is there anything unusual in that knowledge, so far as the nurse's training is concerned? She replies, no, it'd be expected. Right, stop there for a second. Whew. Thank you, Patricia. That's not a word I've actually ever seen in these transcripts. There seems to be words that seem to crop up in this evidence in chief that aren't anywhere else for some reason. Today is the end for the evidence in chief. Yeah, this will be the last in this series of looking at Lucy Letby's evidence in chief and then her cross-examination. Yeah, this will be the final episode of this particular series. But we'll be continuing. I'm not exactly sure with what tomorrow. Possibly the Furwell inquiry, or maybe something completely different. But I'm planning on keeping the live streams a daily sort of occurrence, at least up until the end of January. And then we'll probably switch to maybe doing 3 or 4 a week, I would imagine, in February, because I need to put some videos out in February. So we'll keep the live streams, as I say, pretty much every night until the end of January at least, and then we'll take it from there. But the members only stream, that will be happening every single week, probably as per usual on the weekend, maybe a Saturday or Sunday evening. So the member stream once per week will still be happening, yeah, without a doubt. I've got loads of stuff. I've got loads of stuff regarding this case that I haven't even looked at, to be perfectly honest. I've got all of Dr. Marnarides' stuff. I've got quite a few of the statements from her colleagues. I was reading through some of it earlier. Nurse B's appearance in the witness box. Professor Arthur's I think he's the radiologist. Dr. Marnarides' stuff, all the incident stuff I've got from the people that tested the samples, which wasn't actually covered in the live chat, I don't think. Not the live chat, the live reporting, I should say. So yeah, I've got plenty more stuff which hasn't actually even been covered in the live reporting. So yeah, not entirely sure what we're doing yet, but I shall keep you updated. That just moved as I clicked on it. Why did that happen? Oh dear. Where is the smitten kitten? Your previous message. There we are. Are you doing any of the other witness testimony? Yeah, quite possibly. Like I say, I'll work out what I'm going to do probably during the daytime tomorrow, and then we'll take it from there. So, right, let's continue onwards. Just give me a second. Right, okay. So, Lucy Letby, no, it'd be expected. Right, did we get to the end of this? No, we didn't, do we? And in terms of a potential risk with a line that is open, have I got to the end of this? I can't remember. But because issue just by nursing staff. No, that's fine. And in terms of a potential risk with a line that is open, is it something that's unusual or something that you're trained to be on the lookout for? She replies, that is what we're trained to look out for. Now, remember this point. That is what we're trained to look out for. Keep that in mind, all right, as we move forward, especially with a cross-examination. So why was it something that came to mind on this situation then, given all of that, when you were talking about this with Nurse E? She replies, because the issue hadn't been addressed by other nursing staff. Can we move forwards, please, to TAL 177? Now there are a series of messages here from Dr. A about just had the email. Can you see that? She replies, yes. And there's an exchange between him and you about that. But to cut through this, in case we focus upon it at any point, what email is he talking about? Lucy replies, at this point, Dr. A was applying for a consultancy post at Alderhay Children's Hospital. Right, and that's something that he informed you about. She replies, yes, thank you. Can we go next then, please, to tile 226. This is on the 15th of July at 11:16. We've looked at it earlier, but we're not going to read all of this again. This relates to your move to another part of the hospital, doesn't it? She replies, yes. But to remind us, we're coming to the conclusion of this. Is this a move that you had wanted to make? She replies, no, it was a move that was forced upon me. And why were you told that you were being moved? She replies, so that I could redo my competencies. My competencies. And how did you feel about that? She replies, I wasn't happy. At this point, were you given any other reason as to why it was you were being moved? She replies, no. This is on the 15th of July. Were you aware that on the 7th of July, the unit had been redesignated from a level 2 to a level 1? She replies, yes. Did you know that at this time? She replies, yes. And did you have any idea of some of the things that were being said that lay behind reasons for removing you from the unit? Let's just read that again. And did you have any idea of some of the things that were being said that lay behind reasons for removing you from the unit? She replies, not at this point, no. Can we go to tile 263, please? Before we do apologies, can we go to tile 253, please, Mr. Murphy? This is a message now. We've got to the 8th of August. Moving on, we've moved on. It's 11:25 in the morning. It's you to Nurse E. Tony phoned. He's going to speak to Karen and insist on the review being no later than first week of September, but said he definitely wouldn't advise pushing to get back to the unit until it's taken place. Asked about social things, and he said it's up to me, but would advise not speaking with anyone in case any of them are involved with the review process. Thinks I should keep my head down and ride it out, and can take further once over. Feel a bit like I'm being shoved in a corner and forgotten about by the trust. It's my life and career. Can you just tell us simply what is the review you're talking about there? She replies, the competency review. And who is the Tony? She replies, Tony is a representative from the Royal College of Nursing, the union that I was a part of. All right, can we go to 254 next, please? You to Nurse E. Perhaps you could read this. Lucy says, he's not been given any information about the evidence he asked for, which is good. He's not sure what the external people are going to look at in relation to me, but we are in the process now, so have to ride it out. Mr. Myers, and the next tile, please. Nurse E to you at 11:28. OK, well, just have to take his advice then, I suppose. 11:28, an emoji. The next one, an emoji from Nurse E to you. And then Lucy Letby says, still can't believe this has happened. Next tile, please. It's making me feel like I should just hide away by saying not to speak to anyone and going on for months, etc. I haven't done anything wrong. How is this beginning to make you feel, the way this was going? We're at the 8th of August now. She replies, it was really hurtful. I was being completely isolated and expected to lie about things that were going on. Right, remember that bit as well. I was being completely isolated. Mr. Myers, you were expected to do what, sorry? She replies, to lie, so I had to pretend that I wanted to leave the unit and work in a different area. Mr. Myers, right, can we go to tile 263 with that in mind, please? We saw this when Arian Powell gave evidence and when this was put into evidence by the prosecution, and it sets out what it is that you're due to be doing as someone who is seconded to the Risk and Patient Safety Office. It's from Arian Powell on the 9th of August. I just want to look at the messages that follow this, please. Tile 264. What do you say to Nurse E? I said, oh my God, she sent email about secondments. Tile 265, emojis from Nurse E. Tile 266, email is on fire from her. 267 from you to Nurse E. Bloody hell, fuming. What do you say at tile 268 in conclusion on this issue? Lucy replies, I'm in email and makes it sound like my choice. And had this got anything to do with your choice? Lucy replies, no, not at all. Did you know at this point some of the more serious criticisms that were being made about you in terms of blaming you for things that had happened on the unit, and in particular the deaths of children? Lucy replies, no. Could we go to Tile 272, the 1st of September 2016, meeting with review panel. 1600, Hayley Cooper, also present. What was the purpose of that meeting? She replies, the Trust had an external review carried out into... I'm not going to ask you for any details, but a review. And what's that related to? And that's what that related to. She replies, yes. So that's an external review with the Trust. Lucy replies, yes. And then can we go, please, to the next tile, Tile 273, registration of grievance procedure. And who is registering a grievance procedure? Lucy replies, myself. This is in September 2016. She replies, yes. And is this in the light of your removal from the unit, if I can put it that way? She replies, yes. Now, by this point, how are you feeling? It's been a couple of months now of this building up. How are you feeling? She replies, at this point, I didn't know what to do. I was having a massive impact. It was having a massive impact on all aspects of my life. How are you feeling, if it's possible to describe it, emotionally? She replies, it was emotionally very difficult. I was very lonely. I was worried. I didn't know what was going on. Mr. Myers, it's only a short area of evidence I'd like to deal with, my lord. It will probably take about 15 or 20 minutes, but I wonder if we could take a break at this point, and then I can deal with that. Mr. Justice Goss, of course, yes. Right, so have a break there. And what have we got? 27. We've got 10 more pages to go. Right, so we'll stop there for a very brief moment. Right, a massive thank you to Leah J, who has become a crime scene to courtroom member. Alora Mack with the £3.99 super sticker. And TH with the incredibly generous £10 super sticker.
Oh my God!
Thank you very much. That's greatly appreciated. So as I say, there will be a stream tomorrow night. I just haven't quite figured out exactly what it's going to be about. But there will be one, don't worry. Okay, let's just scroll through the chat, see if I've missed anything before we continue. Okay. Right. Okay, so what have we got here then? So we've got Mr. Myers. They have a short break, then 3:33 p.m. Mr. Myers, Mr. Murphy, can we put up page 48 from the prosecution images? It's one of the notes we've had that we've looked at, that we haven't looked at yet, actually. There's a front and back to this, so we'll have to enlarge it. We're not going to look at everything on this. Just to assist you, this was recovered by the police from a blue folder in the desk at Moistin Lodge. So where is Moistin Lodge? She replies, that's the office that I've been redeployed to. And that's where you were working, is it? She replies, yes, over the period after you'd been, up until my arrest, up until your arrest, all right? Take time to look at this. I'm going to ask you, do you remember when it was you wrote this, or parts of it? She replies, no. Would it all have been written on one occasion? She replies, no. Is it a standard piece of paperwork that you might have in the office where you worked? She replies, it is, yes, it's a work form. Before we look at any of the entries, why have you written all over it like this? She replies, that's what I do with paper. I write a lot of things down. Now again, we're going to get into this argument again, aren't we? Where there is literally zero proof, zero evidence whatsoever to suggest that Lucy Letby was ever told to write those notes. There's nothing at all. Lucy has never said that. She has never said in all of her police interviews, I mean, how many interviews did she have? A lot of interviews, over 30 police interviews, wasn't there, at least? She never said once during her police interviews that she was told by her therapist to write these notes. She never mentioned once during a 10-month trial that she was advised to write these notes by her therapist. And even here, where there's, a really great opportunity to say, why have you written this, Lucy? Well, because my therapist told me to. She doesn't say that, does she? Yeah, it's been put out there in the Guardian or the Telegraph, I can't remember which one it was, a complete load of utter crap, which has gained quite a lot of traction and is actually a complete load of bollocks. Right, so before we look at the entries, why have you written all over it like this, Lucy? Because my therapist... No, that's what I do with paper. I write a lot of things down. If we perhaps look at the top half, we might have to turn the top half round. Is that your signature written in various places? Yes. Is that something you would do repeatedly? Yes, it's just doodlings. Would this have been written, certainly this has been written at the time that you'd been removed from the unit. We know that, don't we? She replies, yes. Is it written at a time when you were aware of what was being said about you, the type of blame that was being pointed your way? She replies, I couldn't say at this point. Might it help if we read on with the document? She replies, yes. Can we just turn that around 180 degrees so we can see the upside down writing at the top? We can see repeated, everything is manageable. Can you see that? Now we're going to get the closest you're ever going to see on Lucy Letby being advised to write these notes is coming up very shortly. But again, it still doesn't say she advised me to write these notes. We've got it written down 3 times on the left-hand side, underneath the table, and it's written across on the right-hand side too. Yes? She replies, yes. Can you help us? Why are you writing, everything is manageable? She replies, it was something that a lady in the occupational health department that I was under. That was something she used to always tell me. It was something that resonated with me. She would always say, everything is manageable. Right, you've written love and love hearts all over it. Why were you writing that? She replies, that's just doodling. It's... Right, can we turn it round and look at what's on the lower half of this form now? I'm not going to look at everything. It's there if anyone wants to look at other details. Just enlarge the lower half, please. Mr. Murphy, when we look at this, we can see various names. We can see Mina Lapalainen. Can you see that? She replies, yes. On the left, we see Mina written several times. We know we can see Karen Rees, yes. Can you remind us who Karen Rees is? She replies, Karen Rees was the Director of Nursing. Right, we can see that underneath the type print that says the above request, the name is there several times. If we look across the right-hand side, we can see the words paid and unpaid with a line round them. And underneath that, we can see you have put your name, L. Letby, and we can also see Dr. A. Can you see that? And surname of Dr. A under that? Why were you writing not just your own name, but the names of these people on this piece of paper? Because my therapist, no. They were important people to me at that time, so I had very limited contact support network at that time. And these people were the main people that I could talk to. Mr. Myers, excuse me. Right, can you help us with what's written at an angle? If we look at that table, the square or the rectangle, rather, in the central upper part of the page. You have names written down the left-hand side. Then you have Lucy written at the bottom corner. And under it, it says written there, can you help us with what that says? She replies, is it this here? That's it, yes. What does that say? She replies, can it go any bigger? Sorry, I can't. I'm not sure. I can see it says much longer, I know. All right, just whilst we've got that, under it, does it say, I can't do this anymore? She replies, yes. What does that mean? What is it you can't do anymore when we look at that note? She replies, it was, I can't do this. It was fighting for my life. Really, fighting for my career, my job, everything. If we pull out, can we look at this again? This section here, a little bit further down. If we just have a look at the lower part and enlarge it, thank you. Why are you writing? Can you see above the blue it says, please help? She says, yes, please help. Help me, under it. Why have you written that? She replies, I wanted somebody to help me. What was going on? She replies, at this point, I'd lost everything. I was in a job that I didn't want to be in. I was isolated from friends. I was being forced to lie about things, and I just wanted somebody to help me. Had you done anything, as far as you knew, to merit that happening to you? She replies, no. That's why I couldn't understand how all this was happening to me. Can we go over the page, please? Turn it round so the love hearts are that way. So they're the wrong way round. Is this something you've written on perhaps on more than one occasion, Miss Letby? She replies, yes. Do you know whether at this point you understood the things that were being said about you, so far as harming children was concerned? She replies, from the content, yes. How was that making you feel? You talked about the job and how you couldn't do the job. How did it feel when you discovered that you were being what was being said about? All right, start this again. Let's move a bit closer to the screen, will probably help. How was that making you feel? You talked about the job and how you couldn't do the job. How did it feel when you discovered what was being said about the children and being blamed? She replies, it was devastating to have that, to have what the hell? It was devastating to have that allegation upon you. Had you done it? She replies, no. It was devastating to have that allegation upon you. Had you done it? No. What's it feel like to be told you've done it if you haven't? She replies, it's beyond comprehension. I just could not understand how it was happening. Could you cope with it? She replies, no. If we look down at the bottom right in the centre, there's some text. I'm going to ask to enlarge that. If we can read that for us, please. What do you write there? She replies, I really can't do this anymore. I just want life to be as it was. I want to be happy in the job that I loved, with a team who I felt a part of. Really, I don't belong anywhere. I'm a problem to those who do know me, and it would be much easier for everyone if I just went away. I wish I could give myself a break and just go away from something. I wish I could give myself a break and just go away from something. All right, had you done anything to hurt anybody? She replies, no. Can we just move up the screen, please? Go back there. There's a bit with a box around it. Can we have a look at that, please? Can we enlarge that, please? What do you say there? Lucy replies, please help me. I've also written, Dr. A. Love, you are my best friend. Why did you say, it says elsewhere around here, please help me? Why were you saying, please help me? She replies, because I just felt so on my own. I wanted somebody to help me. Anywhere do you accept that you have deliberately hurt babies? She replies, no. For all of the material that's put out there, is that something you ever did? No. Is there any truth in that allegation that you deliberately harmed babies? No. Or intended to kill them? No. Or the allegation of air being used intravenously? Would you do that? No. Forced into babies' abdomens? Have you ever done that? No. Or if the blood analysis is accurate, you are responsible for giving them insulin when they shouldn't have it. Have you done that? No, I only ever did my best. Right, that's the end of the evidence in chief. Right, so we'll give it a second. And then we shall continue. Just bear with me. No, that's the wrong one. Okay. Okie dokie. Right, let's just see if I've missed anything. I don't believe I have. Nope, that's fine. Right, okay. Let's now continue with Lucy Letby's cross-examination, again on the same topic. What happens after Lucy Letby was removed from the unit? I'm going to move on to events that happened after the events concerning the children, and I'm going to tell you the headlines of the topics I'm going to deal with. All right? I'm going to start with the text that you sent and received that were in the post-indictment sequence of events, that's on the iPads. Then I'm going to go to the Gang of Four and your allegation that there was a conspiracy between 4 named doctors. I'm then going to deal with your searches for parents on Facebook, then to the circumstances in which you said you were isolated from your friends, and finally your arrest. All right? So that's the menu. You said in evidence that you found that you would not be going back to the neonatal unit the day before you were due to go back to work. Do you remember saying that? Yes. Did you receive some sort of communication telling you that there was an issue? Yes. And from whom was that communication received? Yvonne Griffiths, I think. Yvonne Griffiths. I think it was. Yes. All right. I'm going to ask with Mr. Murphy's help just to put up the sequence of events showing the post-indictment texts. The 26th, which is tile 1, shows that Sunday the 26th of June was a day off. That, of course, was the day after Child Q had collapsed. Yes. At this stage, you liked Dr. B, didn't you? I liked all of the doctors at that point, yes. But if we go to tile 4, for example, I like Dr. B. Yes, that's a reference to Dr. B. It is, yes. At tile 58, this was the evening of Monday the 27th. And this was a point at which you were worried about what was going on, isn't it? Yes. What did you think the issue was? I didn't know what the issue was. That's why I was asking if there was a problem. I had not been informed about what was happening. Yes. But what was you must have been trying to work out what might have been the problem. So what was going through your head? That potentially I'd done something wrong. In what sense? That I'd made a mistake. Tile 62 may help you. Does that help any more in... Yes, I was worried I was in trouble if I'd made a mistake. Yes. At tile 65, the timing seems to have been playing on your mind. Is that right? Yes, the time of the call, yes. Yes. Why did that specifically worry you? Because it was very late in the day to ring me to say don't come into work the night shift, and also it's out of hours for the management team as well. So you realised something unusual was going on, didn't you? I was concerned that something was wrong, yes. Yes, but unusual because management don't usually work at the time of day you receive the call. No, not after 5 o'clock, no. And the very fact that this was an issue being raised out of hours, so to speak, made you think that it might be something serious. Yes. This, of course, was all in the context of you having told us that Dr. Gibbs was making inquiries about the circumstances of Child Q's collapse in the immediate aftermath. Yes. Yes. You realised, didn't you, that there were serious concerns about you at this stage? No. No? No. Did you have a bit of a meltdown? I was upset about it, yes. I didn't know what was happening. There's a difference between being upset about something and having a meltdown, isn't there? I think that depends on how somebody perceives that word. Yes, I was upset about it, yes, and worried. So upset and worried is as high as you'd put it. I would class a meltdown as the same thing. I was very upset, yes, very upset. Well, I'm not. I'm genuinely interested in how you categorize this, so you help us. I was upset and I was concerned that something was wrong. Dr. A, tile 74, said that Ravi, that's Dr. Jairam, and the medical director... Who is the medical director? Can I name him? Yes. Ian Harvey. So is he the chief? Was he in charge of the whole hospital? Of the doctor's side, yes. The medical director, yes. They had met this morning and said they wouldn't accept child N back. Yes. Another child with whom you had had contact? Yes. Did that get you worried? No. That didn't get you worried? That the unit weren't accepting child N back? No. Let's look at 76, please. Were you having a meltdown? Yes. And you were very worried, weren't you, that this had gone all the way to the top? No, I was concerned about the next day. I didn't have any concerns about it being raised higher than that, no. Tile 85, please. Can you just read that out, please? Messes with your head a bit to be told that at this time. Would have sounded more reasonable if I'd done it earlier, which is why I wonder if it's come from higher up, as she usually finishes at 4. You were worried that this had gone all the way to the top, weren't you?
From this, yes. You are familiar with these messages, aren't you? Yes. You knew they were onto you, didn't you? No. Tile 88. This is Dr. A to you saying, there is no problem. I suspect my head is in about the same place. The management was appropriate and you're... So he's reassuring you there, isn't he, at tile 88? Yes. Do you remember how you responded to that? No. I will remind you. Tile 89. You were in a meltdown, weren't you? Yes. Tile 92, please. You read it out, please, sent 12 minutes later. Sorry, that was rude. Felt completely overwhelmed and panicked for a minute. We all worked tirelessly and did everything possible. I don't see how anyone can question that. Redacted has always been very supportive. What were you doing in those 12 minutes? I can't answer that. This was a big moment in your life, wasn't it? Do you agree? I can't answer that, what I was doing. Was it a big moment in your life? I don't think it was a big moment in my whole life in respect of everything that's gone on, no. The fact is that you were worried that the authorities in the hospital might have sussed out what you had been up to. No, that's not right. Tile 94, please. Can you read that out, please? I'm having a meltdown plus, but think that's what I need to do. What grade of meltdown were you having? At this point, quite a dramatic one, yes. Not just upset. Well, I can't define every emotion that I felt at that moment, no. What was dramatic about it? What? I've said it's dramatic. I don't know where I've said that, sorry. You said it about 20 seconds ago, that it was a dramatic moment. I said, what grade of meltdown were you having? You replied, at this point, quite a dramatic one. Yes. What was dramatic about it? That was all happening very last minute into the evening. So it's just the timing of a phone call was enough to send you into a plus meltdown, was it? Yes, because that's not normal. Well, baby's collapsing isn't normal, is it? No, it isn't. No. Baby's dying isn't normal, is it? No. Many people have remarked when these things were happening, you were very calm. It's a professional role. So what was it that sent you into a plus meltdown here, that you are very capable of dealing with dying babies very calmly? Because this is personal. At work I put on a professional head, and I can control my emotions at work. This is a home event in my personal life. Yes, you were worried they'd sussed you out, weren't you? No. Now, this is 1816, so just after 6:15. Is that right? Yes. What did you spend that evening doing? I don't recall. Were you trying to work out how you were going to deal with the problems that you thought might be just around the corner? I didn't know what problems were just around the corner. Oh, you did? No, I didn't. Let's look at tile 107, please. This was made at 23:29. Okay. About 5 hours after your plus meltdown. Yes, if that's the time, yes. You had your thinking cap on, didn't you? Yes. Yes. What were you thinking? There were things I needed to document when I next went back to work that I hadn't documented so far. Yes. What was the purpose of these documents, please? They're the documents of the babies I've been caring for, which I hadn't completed yet. Yes. We're going to go to one now. It's a datix form for the baby J.A. All right? But just before we go to it, I want to move forward in the sequence to tile 134. So this is Nurse E telling you that she'd been chatting to Dr. A. And Dr. A had told her about J's being changed, and I said it hadn't. And he told me about the open port. Yes. You will remember having given evidence about this and having told the jury that this was in relation to a clinical incident that you had witnessed. Yes. And there was a baby who, on his intravenous access, there'd been an uncapped port. Yes. At tile 137 you say, thank goodness I did a datix. Is that right? Yes. And at 140, thought it was a massive infection risk and risk of air embolism. Yes. Let's go to the datix form now, please. This is the datix form for the child J.A. There we see that you made this report at 20:55 on June 30th, 2016. No, I believe the open date when I started the form is July 1st. I see, all right. So the incident is the 30th. From reading that, I would say yes. So just to put that in context, this is an incident being recorded 4 days after the text that we were just looking at when I was suggesting you had your thinking cap on, relating to an incident that happened 3 days after that text. Okay. So if we can go back to the form in general, please, Mr. Murphy. A clinical incident was how you described it, and equipment problem, malfunction, or unavailable. Is that right? Yes. Is this your selection from the drop-down menu? Yes. No harm, low potential harm. What you then record is that on the 30th, as you said, at 1500 hours, so let's just put that into context, please. This is 5 hours or so before the end of the day shift that you were on. If I was working that shift, yes. Well, you're reporting an incident that's happened on a shift, aren't you? Yes. Yes. So 5 hours before the end of the shift, about 7 hours after the start of the shift. Yes. Yes. So 7 hours after you first met this child, J.A. Yes, if I was looking after J.A., yes. What you say is, upon administering IV medication via UVC, the port on one of the lumens was noted not to have a bung on the end and was therefore open. Yes. Redacted informed, was that Dr. A? I couldn't say who it was. Lumen not accessed, bung added and line labelled not to be used. If we go on to the next page, please, we see your name appears there as the person reporting it. Yes, and the next page, please, and the next, and the next. No further information here, is there, as we scroll through? Not from me, no. So we have a case the jury are considering relating to allegations of pumping air into the circulation of several children, don't we? Yes. On June 27th, after the final of these incidents, we have you in a meltdown plus. Yes, if that was the date, yes. And a couple of days after that, we have you reporting an incident in which you are identifying the risk of an accidental air embolus, don't we? Yes, yes. You had your thinking cap on, didn't you? No, that's what I found with this baby and I felt it needed to be documented. Had you missed it in the previous 7 hours of the shift before 1500? Yes, I don't believe the port needed to be accessed until 1500. You remember that? No, but it says there I've accessed it for medication, which would assume that I hadn't gone to that port prior to that. As part of your checks as a QIS qualified Band 5 nurse, do you look at the children that you're dealing with? Yes. Do you note whether the bungs are on the ports? Yes, I should have checked. Yes. Yes. You removed the port and then reported it as a clinical incident, didn't you? No, I didn't. No. To cover yourself, that there's a bit of an insurance policy going on here, isn't there? No. So you can suggest that this was a hospital where things were so lax that people even left the bungs off the intravenous access for these children. No, that's what I found. And it covered you for a suggestion of accidental air embolus, didn't it? No. Can we go to tile 232, please? You talking about children going off within hours of handover. Within hours or on handover, yes. And that is a characteristic, isn't it, of many of these cases towards the end of the indictment. Yes. Tile 234. Or were acutely unwell when you took over. This is you getting your defence in with your mates, isn't it? No, this is me stating what was happening at that time. Which children did you have in mind at this point? I can't say. Well, we've just spent the last few days going through them. Can you really not remember? Not every child on the unit, no, that I've looked after, no. 239. Can you read that out, please? Hoping to get as much info together as possible. If they have nothing or minimal on me, they'll look silly, not me. What did you mean by that? So at that point, I'd been removed from the unit, and I was wanting to get as much information together to provide the Royal College of Nursing with the information on what had been happening in the last few months. Did you think attack was the best form of defence? Sorry? Did you think attack was the best form of defence? I don't think this is attack. This is me responding to what's happening to me. 253. Tony was your rep, was he? Did you say? Yes. Going to speak to Karen? Is she one of the nurses at the hospital? The director of nursing. And insist on the review being no later than first week of September. Wouldn't advise pushing to get back to the unit until it's taken place. I feel like I'm being shoved in a corner and forgotten about by the trust. Were you seeking to get sympathy from Nurse E? Well, yes, it was a very difficult time. I'd been completely isolated and, yes, she was my best friend. Yes, completely isolated. How were you isolated? Just remind us. Being removed from the job that I loved and put into an area where I didn't know anyone, where I was having to pretend that I was there because I wanted to be. How was the isolating manifesting itself in other ways? Can you reword that, please? Of course. Were there any other features of the isolation? I'm sorry, I don't understand. Well, you know where we're going, don't you? No, I was not able to speak to anybody on the unit at that point. And who had told you that? It was told to me at the meeting with Sean Williams, and also my reps advised it as well. So that's the 8th of August, when you're not allowed to talk to anybody, you say. Did you abide by that direction? No, I talked to some friends that have been allowed to be spoken to, yes. Give us a list again, please. It was Mina, Nursey, and Dr. A. No others? Not about any of the details, no. 258. This is another example of what you were saying about your isolation, isn't it? Yes. This is what you told the jury back on May 2nd, wasn't it? That you weren't allowed to speak to anyone. Yes, about the reasons for being moved, yes. Oh no. What you said was you weren't allowed to speak to anyone apart from Nurse E. That is correct, yes. It wasn't limited to discussing the reasons for your removal. It was, do not communicate with, wasn't it? Yes, and also with the colleagues in my new work role. I was not to tell them why I was there. Well, they weren't your friends anyway, were they? No. And you knew, didn't you, by this stage, that you were being blamed for the collapses and deaths of these children? No. I want to move on to the Gang of Four and the conspiracy between these doctors, okay? Okay. On the 18th of May, I asked you this question. Are you suggesting that there is some sort of agreement between any of the medical staff who have given evidence in this case? Some sort of agreement to get you? You replied, in a consultant group, yes, I do believe that. I said, who's in the conspiracy group then? And you replied, which individuals? I said, oh yes. And you replied, I believe Ravi Jairam, Stephen Breary, Dr. B, and John Gibbs. I replied, so the Gang of Four. I'll refer to them in that way rather than repeating their names. I then said, and what is the conspiracy between the Gang of Four? And you replied, they have apportioned blame onto me. I then said, and the motive for apportioning blame onto you is what, please? And you replied, I believe to cover failings at the hospital. Do you remember that exchange? Yes. And you will remember that I've asked you the same or substantially the same questions about what you allege to have been the shortcomings. Yes. What I'm going to do now is to go through what you have said in relation to the shortcomings and see whether that matches up to a motive to make these serious allegations against you. All right? Okay. So far as Child A's case was concerned, you raised staffing levels in the context of the delay in inserting a long line to give him dextrose. That was the shortcoming. Yes, nothing else. For Child B, you raised nothing. No. Child C, you raised nothing. For Child D, you said that the fact that her antibiotics were delayed may have had an impact on her. But as for anything else, you raised nothing. For Child E, you said that it was the delay in giving him a blood transfusion, but otherwise you raised nothing. For Child F, you raised nothing. For Child G, initially you suggested that your friend Nurse E may have overfed Child G. But then you retracted that and otherwise raised nothing. For child H, you said that the location and whether the drains were securely put in may have had an influence, but otherwise you raised nothing. For child I, event 1, nothing. Event 2, you suggested that Ashley Hudson should have had her on a monitor because she hadn't been off antibiotics for more than 48 hours. Event 3, you raised nothing. Event 4, you said that potentially Dr. Chang being called away may have had an influence. For child J, you raised nothing. For child M, you raised nothing. For child N, you raised nothing other than to say it was busy and there were issues with intubation. For child O, you raised nothing, save for the way that concerns raised by Sophie Ellis were dealt with, and you confirmed when we went through the charts that there was nothing untoward on the charts. Child P, you raised nothing other than to say potentially an issue with a chest drain. Child Q, you raised nothing. What are you suggesting was the motive for the Gang of Four to make false allegations against you? At this time, I did not know what babies they were discussing, what the allegations were. I felt at the time anything that could have gone wrong, they were potentially putting on me. I didn't have exact details at that point of which babies and why. No, we're talking about the trial. You were telling the jury that these doctors' evidence has been influenced by a conspiracy. Yes, that's what I believe, yes. So given that we now know the details of what you are suggesting were the shortcomings, how do those shortcomings account for their conspiracy? But I'm not saying a specific issue, I'm saying in general I don't think a lot of the babies were cared for on the unit properly. So does it come to this? Because in your view care at the Countess wasn't very good, they have made these allegations against you? Yes, I believe there are shortcomings from the medical team, and that has been put onto me, yes. And the best you can come up with for the shortcomings is what you have detailed and what I have just summarised. No, because I'm not a medical professional to know exactly what should and shouldn't have happened with those babies. Well, so what you're saying, it's above your pay grade to determine in effect what the shortcomings are. Is that what you're saying? Of a medical professional, yes. Well, I'm going to ask you about something then in your defence statement, if that's the position. Can we go to paragraph 11 of the defence statement, please? Just to put this into context, so far as staffing levels are concerned and these children, the two you've actually raised are Dr. Harkness being on his own in effect with child A and having to deal with all the children, and Dr. Chang on the occasion that child I died when she was called away. Is that right? Yes. Your defence statement, though, says this. And this is before you have any medical opinion to support your case, isn't it? The 11th of February 2022. What do you mean by medical opinion? You're not relying on any expert report to make the suggestions that you're making in your defence statement on the 11th of February 2022. No. You see, I've just asked you about what you're saying are the failings, and you said, well, it's really above my pay grade to say that. No, to say specifically from a medical capacity. Yes, exactly. But what we can see you say in paragraph 11 is the following. I don't believe that the staffing levels at the Countess of Chester were at the level they should have been over the relevant period. Yes. We've dealt with all these cases individually, haven't we? Yes. And you, I suggest, have failed to identify specifically, in specific cases, where there is a deficiency in staffing levels. Okay. Well, do you agree with that? No, I think it has been raised at times where the nursing staff acuity wasn't quite right. I've not talked about medical staff here. No, but in each of these babies' cases, I have asked you, has the nursing staff or the medical staff levels contributed to the collapse or death of this child? Yes, that doesn't mean I'm not the overall care that they received. I was referring to the actual collapse. I think some of the babies didn't have adequate care over a period of time. But you see, the point in this case is whether the collapses and deaths of these children is attributable to you sabotaging them, or to some naturally occurring phenomenon which is exacerbated by a deficiency in the level of care, isn't it? Yes. So you are raising these issues as a general complaint in paragraph 11, but you cannot give specifics, can you? No. No. Paragraph 13. The defence questioned the quality of care, irrespective of the allegations made against me. The defence raised the possibility that suboptimal care has caused or contributed to the deteriorations and deaths in this case. This concern is raised with regard to each and every count on this indictment. It is beyond my ability to analyse and enlarge upon this topic comprehensively or to deal with all possible questions of negligence, but I include this in the defence statement to identify the issue. So you are raising the point, aren't you? Yes. And you have been given by me an opportunity to expand on it, haven't you? Yes. Is there anything else you want to say about it? No. I'll move on to the parents, please. On June 25th, 2015, 21:50, you search for the mother of child A and B. 1 minute later at 21:51, you search for the mother of child D and for the father of child D, the parents of the baby who you don't remember. What was the connection in your mind between those three people? That they're babies that have died or been seriously unwell. On the 5th of October at 2015, a Monday at 01:16, you search for the mother of child I. A minute later for the father of child E and F. A minute after that, the mother of child H. What did they have in common? Again, they're babies that had significant things happen to them and were on my mind. All at the same time. Yes, as well as possibly other families as well, yes. You weren't searching for them though, were you? I don't know, I haven't got the information in front of me. Why didn't you give that answer to the police? Which answer? That these were babies who had died or been seriously unwell and they were on my mind. Because I couldn't recall why I'd looked at some of them. Is that a true answer? Yes. You were checking up on your victims, weren't you? No, I look at a variety of parents and people. On October 5th, child I was still a patient at the Countess of Chester. So why is child I's mother in the same group as the father of child E and F and the mother of child H? I can't say that they're in a group, but they're on my mind at that time. They are in a group, aren't they? Because they're searched for at 1:16, 1:17 and 1:18. Yes, there's nothing else around that time either. But yes, they're on my mind. I'm not interested in anybody but the children in this case, all right? You are a killer who was looking at your victims, aren't you? No. On the 5th of November, a Thursday, 23:40, searching for the mother of child E and F. 23:41, the mother of child G. 23:44, the mother of child I. How do you spell the mother of child G's name? I'm not sure right now. Come on, you've got a very good memory. How do you spell it? It's an unusual name, isn't it? Yes. Isn't it? Yes. How do you spell it? I think it's THOOIND. No. You were reading it off a handover sheet, weren't you? No. 7 handover sheets there with the name. Yes. That's your memory refreshing document or documents, isn't it? No. What did the mother of child E and F, the mother of child G, and the mother of child I have in common? They're babies that were on my mind. Why were they all on your mind at the same time? I can't answer that. Sometimes a lot of babies and families are on my mind. Because you had either killed them or tried to kill them, hadn't you? No. The mother of child G and the mother of child E and F were on your mind again at 21:34 and 21:37 on November 14th. Any particular reason there? No. 17th of December, 22:46, the mother of child J. 22:48, the father of child J. 23:27, the mother of child E and F. What's the connection? They're on my mind at that time. On December 25th, Christmas Day, you search for the mother of child E and F. Any particular reason that the mother of child E and F was on your mind yet again? No, just I often thought of the mother of child E and F. She was the person that caught you in the act, wasn't she? No. A good reason to remember her, isn't it? No, we had a good relationship at the time. On June 23rd, 2017, on the anniversary of their birth, you search for the children O, P, and R. Yes. Why did you write the note to all three of the lads? I can't recall. They're triplets, so... Yes, but two of them were dead, child O and P. The third, child R, was still alive. Okay, I don't recall how I've directed the note to them. On May 2nd this year, you were asked by your counsel about the circumstances surrounding your suspension from the neonatal unit. Do you remember? Yes. And you told the jury that you just changed as a person. Your mental health deteriorated and you felt very isolated. And these are your words. I felt very isolated from my friends and family on the unit. Yes. You went on to say, we were a very supportive unit. Regardless of whether we were personal friends, we were a very supportive nursing team. Do you remember that? Yes. You don't want to change that, do you? No. At the time, the hospital advised me not to communicate with anybody on the unit and to sort of go with the pretense that it was a voluntary secondment. And it was identified at the time that there were 2 or 3 friends that I would be able to speak to, but otherwise I was not to have contact. Not to have contact with anyone on the unit. That's what you said, isn't it? Yes. Was it true? Yes. Did you abide by that direction? Yes. So you didn't have contact with anyone but the people who you were told you could have contact with? At that very beginning part, yes, it did change as time went on. Ah, well, you didn't tell us about that. You were given a document this morning, weren't you? Yes. What's in the document? My social life. Your social life. Where did the document come from? You've made it. Yes, it's come from the prosecution, hasn't it? Yes. And it was given to you this morning before we started. Yes. And you have read it, haven't you? Yes. And you know that it disproves everything you said about your contact with your friends, doesn't it? I disagree. No. You disagree? So you are saying there's nothing in that document showing you in contact with people other than Nurse E, Dr. A, and Mina Lapalainen? No, you're not saying that. That was what you were telling the jury was the position on May 2nd, isn't it? Yes. Yes. Every day I have asked you the same question, haven't I? Yes. Whether there's anything that you have said which you would like to change. Yes. And you were telling the jury on May 2nd that from your suspension through to your arrest, you were not allowed to have contact with anyone from the unit other than Nurse E, Dr. A, and Mina Lapalainen. Yes. Yes. Why did you tell that lie? I was mistaken, so as time went on, it was in the table document in the post-indictment I was allowed to start communicating with the unit, but I was not to tell them any of the details of my secondment. You were exaggerating, weren't you? No. You were telling the jury a sob story, weren't you? No. That you had been cut off from your family, as you defined them. Yes. Yes. Were you looking for sympathy? Yes, it was a very difficult time. Yes. You thought you'd get sympathy by telling a lie, didn't you? No. Was it just a mistake? Yes. If we go through this 26-page document, we will find times and more times and more times of you out drinking with other people from the unit. Yes, won't we? Going on days out with other people from the unit? Days out? I don't know. I can't. Oh, come on. You've read it, haven't you? Where did you go with Dr. A? London. To London. How many times did you go to London with Dr. A? Once. Are you sure about that? Yes. Dr. A, who was not your boyfriend. That's right. The 8th of June 2017, is that right? What, sorry? You and Dr. A's away day in London. I don't remember the exact date. Have a look on page 18 of 26. We'll put it on the screen as well. Yes. Actually, can we just go back to the previous page, please? Scroll down, please. If we stop there, we can see all sorts of stuff here, can't we? From April, May, the beginning of June. Liz and Mina phoned Dr. A, Hartford. What's that on the 6th of May? I think it's where I met Dr. A in Hartford. Where did you meet him on the 7th of May? Cheshire Oaks. CO, Cheshire Oaks. Where did you meet him on the 26th of May? Starbucks. 2nd of June? Cheshire Oaks. Yes. And the 8th of June was your away day, wasn't it? Yes. Did you stay overnight? No. 16:14. I'm near the park next to where you are. Let me know when you're finishing up and I'll see you outside. Yes. And his response? Okay, will do. See you soon. You've missed a bit out? Okay, will do. See you soon. You've missed a bit out? Then he's put an emoji. Yes. What's the emoji? A heart. And your response? A smiley face and a heart. He wasn't your boyfriend. No, Dr. A's a married man. It's not a relationship at all. It's a friendship. This document, maybe we don't need to go through it page by page. It is peppered with you out socialising with lots of different people from that unit, isn't it? Yes, at times, yes. All the time, really, not just at times. You had a very, very active social life, didn't you? Yes, yes. Can we go to page 19 of 26, please? The 28th of September 2017. 2 diary entries. What do they say on the same day? Which, sorry? The 28th of September, there are 2 diary entries which have been reproduced in this document. What do they say? London, Dr. A. How many times did you go to London with Dr. A? Once. We had to cancel this time because Dr. A had a medical appointment. But he wasn't your boyfriend. No, Dr. A's a married man. You have deliberately misled this jury about your background, haven't you? No. You have deliberately misled them about your circumstances following your suspension from that unit, haven't you? No. And you have also deliberately misled them about the circumstances of your arrest, haven't you? No. Well, just remind us about what happened when you were arrested. What do you mean? You really don't remember? You want me to describe how I was arrested? Yes, how awful it was and why it was so awful. I've already explained that once. Yes, well, it's a long time ago and I'd like you to remind us, please. They knocked at my door at 6 o'clock in the morning and they arrested me. And how were you dressed when you left the house? I think I had a nightie on and then a tracksuit bottom and top and trainers. Oh, but you told the jury you were taken away in your nightwear, in your pyjamas, I think was how you put it. Yes. You were taken away in a blue Lee Cooper leisure suit, weren't you? I don't recall exactly. I just know I had a nightie on. Do you want me to show you a video of it? No. Well, I'll ask you again. You were taken away in a blue Lee Cooper leisure suit, weren't you? Yes. On the 10th of June, 2019, when you answered the door, you answered in your nightie. No, I didn't answer the door in 2019. Oh, you've got a very clear memory of this then, haven't you? Yes, I remember this through the arrests, yes. When the police came face to face with you, you had a nightie on, didn't you? In 2019, yes. I had my pyjamas on, yes. No, you had a nightie on. Okay. Do you want to see a video? No. Do you remember having a nightie on? I can't recall specifically which night. I was in bed. Do you remember what you left the house wearing? No. I know I was able to get dressed, and I think I took a dressing gown as well. You put your blue Lee Cooper leisure suit on again, didn't you? Yes. Then you asked them to let you put your dressing gown on over the Lee Cooper leisure suit, didn't you? Yes. So you weren't taken away in your pyjamas, were you? No. And you remember this, don't you? Yes. Why did you lie to the jury about it? I don't know. You don't know. What advantage were you looking for by telling the jury that you were taken away by the police in your pyjamas? What benefit was there? Because that's what happened on the first time. That was how quickly everything happened. No. On the first time, you were taken away in your blue Lee Cooper. Do you want to watch the video? You are a very calculating woman, aren't you, Lucy Letby? No. You tell lies deliberately, don't you? No. And the reason you tell lies is to try to get sympathy from people, isn't it? No. You try to get attention from people, don't you? No. In killing these children, you got quite a lot of attention, didn't you? I didn't kill the children. And you're getting quite a lot of attention now, aren't you? On the third arrest, you left the house in a pink or salmon pink coloured Gap leisure suit, didn't you? I can't recall. Again, I don't know. You weren't in your pyjamas, were you? No. Just going to finish by asking you about some of the notes that you wrote. Can we start with image 9, please? This is a note to the children O, P and R, isn't it? Yes, the names are there. Yes. Yes. Why were you writing to the 3 of them? It's not set out as a formal letter. I'm writing how I felt at that time, and it was their birthday, and I've mentioned all 3 of them. Yes. It's slightly difficult to interpret it exactly, but what it says is, Child P. Above it says, Love is all we needed, which you've told us is a Craig David song. Then it says, Child O, P and R. Today is your birthday, but you aren't here. And I'm so sorry for that. We know that the children O and P were no longer with us. Why were you including child R in that? I've just written 3 names. I've also written Dr. A. But this isn't Dr. A, today is your birthday, but you aren't here, is it? No. Answer the question, please. I can't answer that. Is it because in your mind, as Dr. B perhaps anticipated, there was a terminal end in store for child R if he had stayed with you? No. Was that your objective, to kill all 3? No. Was the prospect of that exciting you? Absolutely not. No. Is that why you reacted the way you did, about which we were told by Dr. B? No. If we can enlarge the following image, please. There's a lot going on in this note, isn't there? Yes. I am an awful person, you write down in the top right-hand corner, don't you? Yes. And that is true, isn't it? No, that's how I felt at that time. I was not good enough, and I must be an awful person. I'll never know what it's like to have a family, appears on this note, doesn't it? Yes. But you had done nothing wrong. No. What made you think at the time you wrote this that you would never have a family? Because despite having done nothing wrong, I was still in the position that I was in, and I could not see how that was going to end. So you had a good job? Yes. Working in the patient safety department of the Countess of Chester? Sorry? You had a good job working in the patient safety department at the Countess of Chester? Well, when you say good job, no, that wasn't a choice for me. No, it was a different job. Yes. Still a good job, isn't it? Good as in enjoyable? Well, it's a secure job. Yes. It's with a very secure employer. Yes. It pays well. Not as much as my nursing, but yes. Still pays well. You had a house? Yes. You had a car? Yes. You had a boyfriend? Yes. So why would you never know what it's like to have a family? That's how I felt at that time. I could not see a future for myself. We don't need to go back through the social media stuff to show you out on the raz with your friends, do we? No. You were having a good time, weren't you? Yes, there were times in those years that I did have good times, yes. Drinking fizz, going to the races? Yes, yes. You felt like this because you knew that you had killed and grievously injured these children. No. And that is the truth, isn't it? No, it's not the truth. You are a murderer. No, I'm not. You have murdered many children. I've never murdered a child or harmed any of them. I have nothing further. Thank you.
Okay, so that concludes Lucy Letby's evidence in chief alongside the cross-examination. A quick thank you to who have we got here? Kaz49 for the £2. Brenda Wilkinson for the £2 super sticker. Thank you so much for your support as always. Yeah, that was about right, wasn't it? An hour and a half? Spot on. There we go. A boyfriend, who's he? Well, the only person you can surmise that she's talking about is Dr. A, but there's no one else being mentioned, is there? So, yeah, there we go. I mean, it could be anybody, couldn't it? Who knows? Who knows? But that's definitely what she said, because I was there and I heard it as well. Not only is it in the transcript, but I was actually there, thinking to myself, why hasn't he just pulled her up on that after all this? No, he wasn't my boyfriend. And then she actually says he got her to actually say, you had a boyfriend, yes. You know, she just completely fell into the trap. It was literally said exactly how I narrated it. Where, you know, well, you had a good job, yes. You had a house, yes. You had a car, yes. You had a boyfriend, yes. And then there was this like silence. I just thought, oh my God, I can't believe she just said that. And then he didn't draw any attention to it. It was just a silence for about 5 seconds. And then he said, so why would you think you would never have a family? Yeah, so he didn't even draw attention to it. It was quite sort of, yeah, obvious enough to be perfectly honest, yeah. Right then, okie dokie. Thank you so much to each and every... oh, hang on, I might as well answer this before we go. What was her demeanour like throughout? And again, this is only my interpretation. You know, I'm sure other people probably would think differently, but what sticks in my mind is how fast she was blinking. The one thing that stands out in my mind is this rapid blinking, like someone's focusing on these questions, like their life depends on it, you know? Like this sort of zoned in focus as to what she's being asked. This rapid blinking, and the way that she came across, her tonality and the way that she would answer questions came across very confident. It's not until you can actually look back and listen to the answers and actually look at the text and work out exactly what she said that you realise how stupid and how ridiculous some of her answers actually were. The way she came across, as I say, was very, very confident, very convincing, I guess is the best way of putting it. And in terms of how she looked, yeah, like a rapid blinking and focusing on what was being asked of her intently, you know, like really zoned in on the questions that she was being asked. Now, again, some people will say, well, she was on medication. Could that have something to do with it? She didn't seem zoned out. She seemed very alert, very tuned in, overly tuned in, I would say. if anything. She didn't look like she was falling asleep or anything like that. She just looked very, very alert. I guess it's the best way of putting it. And I wouldn't say scared, but just she sort of just wide-eyed, blinking a lot at the same time, and focusing intently on the questions that were being asked. That's the best way that I can recall it, anyway. Right, okay, and as I say, tomorrow will be a day off. No, it won't be a day off. What the hell am I talking about? I'm dreaming, aren't I? Tomorrow will be a day off. Oh, dear. Tomorrow will be another stream, but I'm not exactly sure what that's going to be on yet, but I'll let you know tomorrow at some stage during the day. Rapid blinking is symptomatic of some kind of stress. Yeah, of course it is. I mean, she's fighting for her life, regardless of whether she's innocent or guilty. She's fighting for her life, isn't she? But the way she came across was that she was not very helpful. You know, if I was in that position and I was innocent of something, I would want to be understood. You know, if they said I'd say, of course I didn't. Of course I didn't. Blah, blah, blah. You know, you'd expand on stuff. She was very much like, no. Well, I can't answer that. Well, I don't know. You know, there was no sort of desire to fight for herself. No desire to explain why she's being accused of all these things that she claims she's innocent of. There was no fight there. No fight whatsoever. And again, people will say that's because she was dosed up on medication. But you can see the way she answers the question. She's not zoned out. She's not on a different planet. She's very able to answer for herself during this, 14-hour cross-examination that I've put out. She's very able to answer the questions. But there's just no fight there. No desperation of like, hang on a minute, this is completely wrong. This is completely wrong. I'm an innocent individual. I only did my best. There was no sort of fighting her own corner, I guess you could say. It was more like sort of trying to analyse what was being asked of her and give an analytical response. Not so much a truthful one. That's how it came across to me anyway. And again, that's just my own opinion. Right, okay, and again, as I say, I was there, but that's literally just my own interpretation of what happened. I know people will say, oh, this person said this and this person said that. That's just my own opinion, it's just the way it is. Like it or lump it, basically. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Have I missed anything before I go? No, I haven't. That's fantastic. Many thanks to Terence for sticking around and doing the moderating whilst we conducted this second stream. Hang on a second. Quick question. Was Nicholas Johnson aggressive, intimidating? No, he's actually probably a lot calmer than how I put it across. I mean, you can see how he comes across in that video that I uploaded a little while ago regarding her leave to appeal stuff. He wasn't aggressive and intimidating, no, but he's very assertive, very calm and very assertive. That's the best way that I can put it, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, that's just my interpretation in it. So there we go. Anyway, positive vibes. Thank you for joining us this evening. Right, I'll leave you all. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your evening, and I'll be back tomorrow evening at 7:30. And if you look on the channel, probably around lunchtime tomorrow, maybe sometime in the early afternoon, you'll have an idea of what tomorrow's stream is going to be about. Right, okay, I'll leave you with the outro video. Thanks for joining us yet again, and I'll see you all again tomorrow. Speak soon. Goodbye.